Green, and this is Untethered Travel Live Streams, where we live stream travel, period.
Just what it says on the tin.
That's what it says on the tin, exactly.
I'm Scott B. Smith. I hang around these live streams.
Sorry, I meant to say I'm Wesley Green at the end. That way you can add yours in. I'm trying to get more explanation there in that opening of what's going on, because I find people are not getting it. We don't have a lot of viewers yet, but I directed a friend to one of our episodes the other. There was a lot of flies on here. One of our episodes the other day, he responded to. He obviously didn't watch the whole thing because it only took a few minutes, and our streams are kind of long. But he responded just a few minutes later and said, "Oh, so you were being interviewed for a podcast?" And I was like, "That's not quite what was happening." So it's not coming across. But thank you for letting me know that.
Oh,
so more explanation, at least in the opening. So when people first look at it, they know what they're looking at.
Honestly, did you know that this museum was first built in 1920?
That's what I'm looking for. Yeah, it's not an ancient building. Was it built as a part of an ancient, like a renovation of an ancient building?
I don't think so.
It was. You were right the first time. It was built in 1920.
Why'd you ask me if you already knew the answer?
I was just trying to help you, be the center of knowledge.
No, that's not me.
Knowledge.
Oh, there's just some feet.
Oh, it's just feet.
There you go. Yes, it was apparently built or construction was completed in 1920, and it was heavily renovated in 1968. It was built during the French colonization of Cambodia, so it was built kind of at the urging of a French person named Georges Grosley, who was a historian, curator, and author, who was very interested in traditional Khmer art and history. They built it in the style of traditional Khmer temples that they had seen in art, but it is not an exact replica or anything. They had to change the proportions to make it a museum, and obviously they were, French people, and so they weren't. And by that I mean they were not, part of the culture that had initially created it. So
right, they were looking at
variation. A little variation there. And it was heavily renovated in 1968.
Anyway, so the Rosetta Stone is at the British Museum. It looks so much like this. Of course, the Rosetta Stone is the ancient tablet that translated Egyptian and Greek and Latin, thinking those three languages are correct, all into each other so that they could be, ancient Egyptian could be read. Well, this, it says, is the first, so far as it's been found, the first thing that is it's like the mathematical equivalent. The first thing that represents zero. The first zero. This concept is in math. Took actually a long time to come along. I had friends say, well, that can't be because if there's nothing there. It's like, no, we're talking about a mathematical representation that you can work with in arithmetic. That took a long time. And when I say a long time, I mean in ancient times. The numbers were around for a long time, but there's no zero.
Yeah, it had to have been something like when we first learn about imaginary numbers in people. It just blew people's mind. Like, whoa, we're able to represent nothing.
Right, exactly. Mathematically represent nothing.
Oh.
Yes, and actually, as I learn tiny amounts of each language in the countries that I'm going to, I can tell you, it's really interesting to see countries that, or languages, I should say, that represent zero, and zero just stands out as different from all the rest because it's different, and it came along later. So you find over and over again that zero stands out because in ancient times they didn't have a concept of it, so it has to have been added in modern times, or not modern, but later. Anyway, I thought that was cool.
Fire ritual sounds awesome. I don't know what that is, but it sounds cool.
Well, maybe it is. They're not doing one right now.
See, I haven't watched very much Supernatural, Erica and Charlie, but the fire ritual sounds like something that would totally be in the show Supernatural somehow, or something called a fire ritual, right? What's that? Pig?
This was, when it had a head, the torso of, it's just now the torso of the bull Nandin.
Oh.
I think that's a Hindu thing.
Okay. And that is probably Ganesh.
Yes.
Unless there's a different elephant-headed humanoid deity that I'm not aware of. That's Ganesh.
Yeah.
Ganesh seems like a cool deity. I don't know a lot about him, but just my impression, he's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty cool one. You do see him a lot.
Yeah, I think
they thought he was cool too.
Yeah. I think he's popular. Well, I mean, people relate to him.
Oh yeah. How is that?
I don't know specifics, but I'm just assuming.
I don't know that I relate to it. I do. I agree on the cool part.
Yeah.
I don't really know his story, so I don't know if maybe he was also a live stream video vlogger with visa issues. Can really relate to that.
That's the Cambodian Venus de Milo there.
Yeah.
I don't know that Ganesh has to worry about visa issues. He can go where he wants. First of all, he's a deity, and second of all, he's an elephant. Both of those things can go where they want, generally speaking. There's Russ. Russ, we just saw a thing that a giant stone tablet that Wesley said looked like something from the British Museum. So go back and watch the video later and check it out if we don't go back there.
Well, he's not too late to it, but yeah, there were a couple of things that he's missed if he hasn't been tuning in. Hey, Russ, by the way. But yeah, so it looked like the Rosetta Stone, but it was actually a stone that it was like the Rosetta Stone, but for math. It was the first depiction of the zero concept. That was pretty cool. This has got a long write-up, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but if you're interested...
That's the happiest statue we've seen.
Yeah, he's having a good time.
I wonder what he was holding. Like his fingers have been broken off. I wonder what he was holding.
It's kind of ironic that his fingers have been broken off. He's the Lep King.
He's the Leper King?
His name is his name is Yama. This statue, which is usually called Prea Cum Long, that is the Leper King, given to the terrace at the top of which it stood to the northeast of the royal palace of Angkor Thom. It was the object of a cult until during the night of March 14th, 1967, an attempt was made to saw its head. Taken to a safe place the following day, it was transferred in October of that year to the museum. Actually, the statue is of Yama, the Hindu god, who is the guardian of hell and the judge of the dead. Hit something?
Oh, I hope not.
No, I meant a button. I thought I had hit a button.
I thought you meant like a statue. Wow, look at that. Wow. Boy, something exciting's happening there.
Yeah.
Look at that.
He's got a sword. And he's jumping on the guy who, I guess, also has a sword. And he's looks like he's jumping off the heads of these women or men. I don't know who that is.
I thought they was wrestling. He was coming off the top rope.
That isn't what's happening. Except it's wrestling with swords. So.
Oh, I guess. Well,
that's really just killing someone.
Well,
guardian with a lion head.
Well,
this looks like what might have been happening here, but they don't have their arms.
The sword fight. This is a few minutes into the sword fight.
Right.
Your arm's off.
It's Vishnu again.
There are those protective Naga spirits, I think, behind those people.
Now, is that what's being represented when the Naga is back there, the protection?
I believe that's the case, yeah. I could be wrong.
I mean, that's what it looks like. It's the impression I get. It looks kind of like it's a shield well, honestly, it looks like it's shielding them from the sun, which I imagine was a huge, big deal in ancient times to try and get protection from the sun, which would be really intense here.
Or the rain in certain seasons, especially.
Oh, yeah, good point. Yeah. We haven't quite hit the rainy season here, but I've gotten a taste of just a couple of downpours, and I bet the rainy season is not good, and also probably causes a lot of damage when the flooding happens. Like I said, the Tonle Sap Lake covers most of the country. Here's what's amazing. Obviously we're in the middle of a pandemic, so there's not a lot of tourists, nor should there be. But I'll bet this museum is not overrun even when the tourism picks up. And yet the exhibits here and the stuff we're looking at is every bit as interesting as, say, Egypt or anywhere in India. The Khmer culture is quite old and was a big and powerful culture, and there's just a ton of artifacts. It's really fascinating. But it's, as I pointed out, I think in our first episode here, this Cambodia is really, I don't want to say overlooked because that does have a tourism industry, but it's not at the top of people's list. It kind of should be. That's right. That's ancient Vietnam, based in Hanoi. I do not want to venture into the realm of the political here, but if anyone tells you there's no difference between North and South Vietnam, that would be incorrect. Northern Vietnam is the traditional center of Vietnamese culture. And the southern part, what we now call southern Vietnam, was called Champa. It was an empire of the Cham people who are still around but don't have their own country. They're just part of, they're one of the ethnicities of Vietnam today. So at some point in history, the Vietnamese empire moved south and took over China. I should actually mention a particular architect of this. He deserves credit for it, not just French in general. Bas relief depicting Buddha and worshippers.
Yes, this is the National Museum, Russ.
Oh yeah, he came in late. We probably should just some repeating. We're at the National Museum.
Maybe it's just good for anybody who might be just scrubbing through the video later too. This is the National
Yeah.
Museum of Cambodia, and right now Wesley is looking at a lot of statues and sculptures and
Yeah,
tablets.
these particular ones came from Bayonne, Bayon. Hope I'm saying it correctly. I'm saying Bayonne, which is one of the big temples and one of the more well-preserved temples in Siem Reap. Well, I usually say at Angkor Wat, but I'm a little unsure of whether that term applies to all of the temples in the area. Hopefully we'll get to go there one day, but just to give you a preview. Angkor Wat is a pretty large temple complex, but it's in the midst of, today it's in the middle of the jungle, but it's in the midst of a ton of other very well-preserved temples. And if you go there and take a day tour, and it becomes obvious that you are not even in a full day going to see every temple. And it's not because they're far distant from each other. There's just a huge number of them. I should say some are more distant. You can take tours farther out, but that's just like a center of one of the eras of, I'm guessing the major era of Khmer power in the area. So there's just a ton of temples.
Is that Machu Picchu kind of that way too?
No, Machu Picchu is pretty isolated up in the mountains. It's one complex.
Oh, okay. Okay. It's one complex. Okay.
Yeah, Machu Picchu stands alone. It kind of does. It's one thing, they built it on the peak. When I say peak, they built it pretty high up on one of the slopes.
Mm-hmm.
And so you really couldn't have a lot like that. You had to put one on each mountain. But there's the question of what it actually was anyway. It was probably a temple complex / summer home for the Inca. The Inca being the king, not the people.
Those statues didn't look very happy.
No, he looks angry, right?
Yeah.
Let's see if the card tells what he's angry about. Bust of Giant, Asura. Causeway, the Prasat Preah Khan for Siem Reap. This is his Bayonne style. I hope I wasn't misreading the others. So it doesn't say it was found at Bayonne. It says it's in the Bayonne style, but found at Angkor. Okay, here's what I think I've been getting wrong. Angkor is the name of the ancient city, the area. Angkor Wat is the temple itself. As we've said, Wat is the temple. So when someone says Angkor Wat, they're talking about the one temple complex at the center of all these. But if someone says Angkor, it could refer to the city and the area, or the period of the Khmer Empire when all this was being built. Oh, they showed the detail of the Naga.
Wow.
A lot of detail on that one. I don't know if you can see this, but he's got a hand in front of him, and it looks like it's going like that.
Russ says, was this empire Buddhist from the start, or did it come in later?
That came in later. They started out as Hindu. Most of these temples, especially the ones we're talking about in Angkor, are started out as Hindu temples and became Buddhist later. We got a school group. We're going to try and slide past them because their tour guide is telling them stuff. And I think that's just going to make noise for you guys.
Yeah, Buddha began his life as we lost Wesley. Maybe he'll get him in a minute. Buddha was a Hindu beginning of his life in much the same way that Jesus was Jewish until Buddha reached enlightenment. And but there's Wesley. He's back.
I got an overheating message. If I get another one, I'm going to take it out of the gimbal.
Okay.
I'm not sure why we're getting it at this point, since we've definitely done longer streams than this, but that's pretty cool.
Tiny cannons.
Well, they are tiny cannons, but if you amass enough of these, you would do some damage.
Yeah, those are like the sort of cannons that you would mount kind of at the, you know how we normally think of cannons on ships as being on the decks and pointed off to the sides, right? The big cannons. But those look like the sort of cannons they would mount at maybe the front and the rear of those larger vessels. Chime in here and tell me if I'm just making crap up. And obviously the cannons didn't start out with those huge things that we think of on the, Spanish galleons and such. So blunderbusses, I think, generally they're kind of like shotguns in that they just wanted to put a lot of shot out rather than firing a solid projectile like a musket ball or a cannonball or a bullet. Again, okay. Russ, if I'm wrong, tell me.
I mean, that's jives with what I know about a blunderbuss. A lot of junk was put into the barrel and then explosion, and it just comes out. Kind of early shrapnel, like a shrapnel gun.
A lot of times, if you ran out of cannonballs in some of the big naval battles we think of, I mean, people would just put nails and forks and knives and stuff just scrap into the blunderbuss because those weren't going to really punch holes in the holes of the ship like a cannonball would. But they would shred sails and people. Speaking of which, the article I read does talk about what happened to the museum during the Khmer Rouge. It was closed, obviously. Those people didn't like learn and stuff. And when it was finally reopened, it was overgrown. They said the roof was in very bad disrepair. A flock of bats had taken up residence inside. So,
wow.
And it all had to be cleaned up. And they reopened it, cleaned it up, and reopened it very quickly. Apparently in 1980, after the Khmer Rouge fell in 79. But a lot of the people who had worked there before had lost their lives during the atrocities. And so they didn't have a lot of staff. Experienced staff when they first opened. I would stay in a hotel that emulated a museum, but I am a huge nerd. So if there was like a hotel that had like a natural history museum hotel, like it was just dinosaur bones and crap in like the lobby and stuff, man, I'd be there. That's $1 million idea. It would do at least as well as the new Star Wars Star Cruiser hotel that Disney put on. But no, I'm just saying, like, I think you're going to have a lot less overhead just putting in some fiberglass dinosaur skeletons as opposed to making something look like a Star Wars ship, you know? I mean, I hate to break it to everybody, but the skeletons you're seeing in most of the museums are not actual fossils.
They're copies of them.
They're copies.
Right. Do you see why I said that? Actually, it's not the group that's ahead of us. It's that.
Oh,
they're lined up, waiting to get in.
Wow, you got here at a good time, man, right in front of all the groups.
Yeah, get there when they open. That is tourist tip number 1. I am telling you, get there when they open. I'm not. Did you see anything in these cases that you feel he was going to concur that teaching children is not easy?
I'm sure he can concur with that. And also, I can speak for him when I say he thinks that teaching history is important.
Yeah, so important.
Try to feed him a banana. Like that lady that zoo tried to get you to buy a banana for the flipping elephants. Yeah, love bananas. That's what I know about them.
Construction work going on this side of the museum.
I know that the reason that Hindus don't use cattle as livestock for food is because they consider bovines to be higher on the spirituality because they're so placid by nature they're serene. So they're like, oh, well, they've got it figured out.
They've got it figured out. I like that. That's a quality to respect, is placidity and calm, and yeah, that's a good thing. That's something we could learn something about.
Jag tittar och de här kommer då det personer som tar över. Jag är med sig kvar med in på rum. Men jag kan rätta vad det sitter uppe. Ja, 5, 4. Den är tid. Jag kan röra 15 från. Hit kom det. Ja, jag tittar och de här kommer då det personer som tar över. Jag är med sig kvar med in på rum. Men jag kan rätta vad det sitter uppe. Ja, 5, 4. Den är tid. Jag kan röra 15 från. Hit kom det. Ja, jag